up.
No, you lock it up.
You lock it up.
Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Oh, it's Friday. We are winding down towards another weekend of home football action for the Sooners, who host Kent State tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the Palace on the Prairie. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton for one final installment this week of Locked In. Brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. Are you in the market for a new vehicle? If so, check out Dorsey Jones because GMC offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. And Dorsey Jones has you covered with great service as well, including their half-price oil changes on Saturdays. So swing out to El Reno, check in with the good folks at Dorsey Jones. If you want to chime in throughout the show, please do so at 405-651-3439. And Grayson, Emmett Jones is the early leader in the clubhouse for KREF Recruiter of the Month after picking up three-star wide receiver Braden Allen out of Lafayette Christian Academy in Lafayette, Louisiana on Wednesday night, the first of the month. Good pickup for the Sooners, who now hold 20 commits in their 2026 class. Obviously, the 2027 cycle is off to a roaring start for the Sooners. Cooper Hackett, Caden Penny, Damari DeJean, Luke Wilson, and most recently Mikhail McCreary on the board in that class. But in 2026, this is a class that so many have very divided opinions about. Right now, as we look at the Rivals recruiting rankings, Oklahoma sits at number 20, and they have consistently occupied that territory for several months now. They have the number 20 class in the nation. 7 4-stars, 13 3-stars, not a 5-star to speak of in the 2026 cycle. Number 20 in the country, however, what I will bring up is that when you look at the 19 teams ahead of them, there are only 5 that have fewer commits than Oklahoma at 20, those being Ole Miss, South Carolina, Florida, LSU, and Oregon. So the quantity isn't necessarily what it is for some of the other elite programs in the country right now for Oklahoma in the 2026 recruiting cycle. But quality, and this is where it's naturally subjective, right? Numbers are quantifiable. Quantity, you know what you're looking at. Nobody can dispute anything in that regard. But there are so many varying opinions, not just of the class as a whole, but of the individuals that make up the class. And so, Grayson, where I want to start on this Friday is that when you look at Oklahoma's 26 class, and I know you've been studious and watched tape on all 20 of these guys, if you could describe Oklahoma's 2026 class in a single word as it stands today, that word would be what?
That word would be I wish you had told me you were going to start it off with this. I would say appropriate. I think it's an appropriate class because when you look at the class, the boxes are checked. There's not a part of the class where you could say, "Oh, we've got a luxury here." I don't think that exists. Be it either quantity or some overwhelming 5-star player. So there's not some luxury here. But it's appropriate because you checked all the boxes that you needed to check. You needed a 2026 quarterback. You got that in a big way. You desperately needed a running back after playing A, B, C, D, and all the way to Z seemed to fail. You went in and got DeZephan Walker, offered him, and got him committed within a span of 30-something odd days, which is impressive. The wide receiver, you obviously would want maybe 1 or 2 more, but they check the boxes for a wide receiver that you want to build your receiving core around. And the same can go for what you've got on defense. Somebody you could say, well, you've only got 1 corner in the 2026 class, Derek Johnson out of California. Well, guess what? You don't need a whole heck of a lot of corners because Cortland Guillory is going to be a true sophomore. Eli Bowen's going to be a true junior next year, and you've got other depth at that position. So it may not be something that knocks your socks off, but why I've gone to bat consistently for this class is because they have checked all the appropriate boxes that they need to check. Could you do a little more here and there? Sure, on the fringes. But in terms of you got what you needed, Oklahoma has gotten that. So that's why I'd use the word appropriate.
Let us know on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line what your word would be to describe this 2026 class as it sits today. 405-651-3439. Grayson, you would say the strength of this class positionally is what?
Linebacker.
Yeah.
Linebacker. Yeah. I would that's where I would go. Linebacker and tight end. Because I think Joe John Finley did a hell of a job in this class with Tyler Ruxer and Ryder Mix, and the linebackers look really good, especially if you're able to get Jacob Curry on board. Now, I will say this, Parker, you might agree with me. If they get Milan Paris in this wide receiver class, I may have a change of opinion.
I tell you, man, if Oklahoma lands Milan Paris, that may become my favorite prospect in the entire class.
I would agree.
Like, it's neck and neck for me at that point. And there are a lot of guys I really, really, really like. But at that point, it's neck and neck for me between Milan Paris and probably Noah Best. With respect to all of the other tremendous signees, or I should say signees to be, that Oklahoma has locked in at the moment. Man, I think Noah Best has superstar potential, which is not a real sexy take because he's an interior offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
I love the kid's makeup. I love his versatility. I think he's going to be a consistent building block, a foundational piece on Oklahoma's offensive line for years to come. But, man, Milan Paris, I mean, find me another 6'5" wide receiver in the country right now, save maybe for five-star Calvin Russell, who's committed to Syracuse.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Find me another 6'5" dude that moves like that. He's a rare breed.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing with Milan Paris, too. Milan Paris is not that kind of wide receiver that, and no offense to this guy, because this guy is has done great things at Oklahoma in his time when he's healthy, but he's not a wide receiver like Jaden Gibson, where Jaden Gibson was used more situationally, came up with big-time jump ball catches. Milan Paris, to me, is a more complete wide receiver. He can do more. He can do more with the route tree, and I think he does more after the catch as well. So he's more dynamic, but he's within that Jaden Gibson type of build. I mean, whoever he goes to, and Iowa State's got a hell of a pitch for him because they just developed Xavier Hutchinson into an NFL wide receiver now with the Texans, and there's similarity between Hutchinson and Milan Paris. But whoever he goes to, because he's not just a jump ball threat, he's going to be a mismatch no matter where he goes.
This is an interesting take from Adam in South Dakota, a take that I'm not sure I've seen yet. This class seems pretty good. Need to add another tight end, if possible. So you want to make this a three tight end class, Adam? Now, I don't question that it's happened elsewhere, other places before, but the only time I can remember a 3 tight end class even being on the radar for a particular school was in the class of 2023. I believe it was 23. Miami had 3 tight ends committed all the way till signing day, at which point they lost one. And actually, I can't remember if he was a former OU commit, if he actually committed to Oklahoma or it just looked like he was going to. But Reed Mikeska was one of those 3 tight ends, and he wound up flipping to South Carolina on signing day. So generally 3 tight ends, that's not something you're going to see a program do. I think Oklahoma depth-wise is fine at tight end moving forward. You lose Jaron Kanik at the end of the year. We know that. You lose Will Huggins. You're bringing in Bo Bentley and Ryder Mix, and that's a phenomenal class for Joe John Finley. It does feel like
Tyler Ruxer and Ryder Mix.
Who did I say?
Bo Bentley.
Why did I say Bo Bentley? Massive brain fart to kick off the show today, folks. But, yes, you're bringing in Tyler Ruxer and Ryder Mix. Those are your 2 tight end commits. Bo Bentley will not be playing tight end at the University of Oklahoma, to the absolute best of my knowledge. So, Ryder Mix, Tyler Ruxer, I think they're both really good players, man. I think they're going to be ready to contribute early in their collegiate careers. But I also think this probably sets up for Oklahoma to at least look at a portal tight end. One guy I'm really, really interested to see the rest of the way now that he's getting past that hand injury from fall camp is Caden Helms. I think what you get from Caden Helms the rest of the way probably goes a long way towards dictating how seriously Oklahoma pursues a portal tight end this offseason. But I don't think Oklahoma's in a position where they need another from the high school ranks. A 417 listener, that's the state of Missouri, asks, what about Ivan Carion working at tight end? It worked for Mark Andrews. And it did. And Mark Andrews was a guy that signed with Oklahoma to play wide receiver. Then he showed up and they made him into a tight end. And I'll be honest, there was a time I figured that was going to be what the Sooners did with Ivan Carion. That's what I kind of figured made the most sense. But the Sooners have not demonstrated any inclination to do that with Carion yet. I also just think, with where he's at in that wide receiver room, he's a guy that you've seen a little bit. He's in the rotation at wide receiver. He's not getting a ton of snaps, but that's mostly because Keontez Lewis, Deion Burks, and Isaiah Satania have just eaten the lion's share of the looks at wideout thus far in the season. There hasn't been much room for anybody else. But you've seen Ivan Carion out there running routes, catching passes. I think he has one catch on the year to date. But he had a very, very strong fall camp, and he's a guy that Oklahoma likes a lot as a wide receiver. And he is a legitimate 6'6". Few are the programs, particularly in the SEC, that can claim they have a 6'6" wide receiver that is more than a one-trick pony. And that's really where the jump happened this offseason for Ivan Carion. Is he did kind of look like he might be a one-trick pony as a freshman. Okay, he's a guy that's going to go catch 50-50 balls and do the typical stuff that you would expect a 6'6" receiver to be out there doing. But he really improved his ability to separate this offseason, and that helped him rise on the depth chart to the point where I think he was listed as the second string X on the season opening depth chart. Now, obviously, he'll get shuffled back a little bit with the return of Giovanni Gibson. But I like Ivan Carion's potential as early as 2026 to play a big role for Oklahoma at wideout. So I don't think he gets shifted to tight end. Elsewhere on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, John in Blanchard says, what has happened to Luke Haas, Parker? Well, he's at Ole Miss. I couldn't really tell you offhand how he's doing or what he's doing, but he is at Ole Miss. He is at Ole Miss right now. A 918 listener, with regard to the 2026 class, says when one watches the tape, the class is undervalued, in my opinion. There are some guys that look to have a really high developmental ceiling. And, yeah, Grayson, and we've discussed this reality. There are so many folks that want to judge Jim Nagy right now. For better or worse, there are some that want to say Jim Nagy in this front office, this whole experiment's a failure because the 2026 class isn't that good numerically. Or this is a smashing success. Oklahoma's got the number 1 or number 2 class in the 2027 cycle, depending on which service you follow and which one you trust. But to me, when I look particularly at the back end of this class, as far as the rankings are concerned, there are a bunch of dudes that have immense potential to outperform their rankings if they're developed properly. And that's where you got to trust your coaching staff. Because, a guy like Brian Harris, a guy like Xavier Okafaleze, either of the Jandro brothers, Matthew Nelson, these guys have immense potential, but you have to tap into it. Because if they don't get developed, if they don't improve, if they don't get the seasoning and the polish that they need from this coaching staff, well, they're not going to amount to much. These are guys that quite evidently have another level that they can take their game to that they haven't been able to tap into yet for lack of collegiate level S&C development and coaching, etc. Like, you get them in a collegiate program, their ceilings can go through the roof.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that is the same line of thinking that I've used for going to bat for this class. I remember when you had a malfunction with your car in Indianapolis a couple months ago, I did a segment saying this class is being undervalued. And it has been an underrated class so far, just because it's easy to get caught up in the raw number of seeing Oklahoma as, the ranked class where they are. I mean, we don't need to relitigate that. But in terms of if you can hit on 85% to 90% of this class, you're going to have a hell of a team 2-3 years down the line. Obviously, you're not going to hit on every single one. That doesn't happen. That's unrealistic. But if you can hit on the lion's share of this class, these are cornerstone pieces. You got a cornerstone quarterback. You got a wide receiver who, by the way, we didn't expect to stick with you, but he has, and he's got immense potential. You have an edge rusher. You've got a couple offensive linemen, and you've got a corner, and you've got defensive pieces at linebacker that you can move around. So you've got cornerstone pieces for a Brent Venables team that, if developed properly, most of them, you're going to have a really good squad come 2027, 2028, let's call it. By the way, Luke has, and thanks to Drake Dykin for texting us this, Luke has broke his ankle early in the year.
Okay, well, there you go. That's why you haven't – if you've been watching Ole Miss football, that's why you haven't seen Luke has. The only Ole Miss game that I've watched in its entirety was that game last week against LSU, and for whatever reason it didn't dawn on me to even check for Luke has. Didn't hear his name called throughout the game, and that would explain why.
I forgot he left Arkansas. I'm not going to lie to you.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss has it cooking a little bit. Even without Luke Hass, man, old Trinidad Chambliss, who would have thought? The D2 transfer from Ferris State, looking like one of the better signal callers in the country through 4 games. All right, folks, let's start our first break of the 2 o'clock hour. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Keep firing away with all of your recruiting questions and opinions. We'll be back in a flash here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Sound off any time of day on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, USA.
It's spooky season here at Riverwind Casino.
And the monster jackpots are taking over.
Experience all thrills and chills on brand new electronic games.
Celebrate in style as a VIP in a private suite in our Showplace Theater.
Game like an MVP when you play with your wild card.
Drop in every Friday in October to win your share of our $100,000 Creepin' for Cash giveaway.
So keep the good times rolling at your favorite haunt.
And we'll see you at Riverwind Casino.
What are you doing out there?
Come on!
I saw you at the game the other night. Yeah, you. Up there getting mad, acting like we're all out there making $1 million a game. Well, let me be real with you. This isn't the pros. It's school sports, and it's a game, our game. So please, let us play.
School sports fans, remember, when you cheer for your team, make noise for the right reasons. This message presented by the NFHS and the NIAAA.
And all student athletes in Oklahoma.
You're invited to a contractors-only event at River Bottom Nursery October 8th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. with free lunch. Come to River Bottom's new location at 7600 Southwest 119th Street in Oklahoma City for the contractors-only event with free lunch October 8th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Are you, your family, or company looking for a locally owned and trusted management group? Carlsbad Management Group is an owner, developer, and manager of high-quality apartment communities in Oklahoma. They are a locally owned and operated management company for apartments and self-storage units. They are committed to providing exceptional apartment homes, customer service, and increasing the value of multi-family communities under our management. If you would like a free management quote today, call Carlsbad Management at 405-701-1411 and be part of the Carlsbad family.
Are you in need of purchasing your own health insurance? Are you turning 65 and confused about Medicare? Are you an employer looking at offering benefits to your staff? Call the agents at Allison Insurance. They'll sort through the confusion. They're not captive to just one company, and they'll get the best option for you. Don't get frustrated. Call Allison Insurance at 800-580-5587 or 745-2968. Allison Insurance. They are the experts.
Why did I wait so long to see a retina specialist?
Retinal disease can steal your eyesight, but it doesn't have to. Patients who seek care from a retina specialist have the best chance of preventing vision loss due to age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy. AMD symptoms to look out for are distortion or warping of straight lines, as well as blurred or loss of central vision. Patients with diabetic retinopathy should seek treatment if they notice the appearance of spots or floaters or blurred and distorted vision. Visit seeforalifetime.org.
Remember, always be generous with the nutmeg. Just eyeball it.
Okay.
Mom's wisdom has served you well, but now it may be your turn to guide her.
Hey, I'm worried about Mom. She keeps forgetting her famous sweet potato pie recipe.
Some things come with age, sis.
And some don't.
Knowing the early signs of Alzheimer's in a loved one will help you make the best decisions for your family. Visit 10signs.org to learn the signs. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
We tend not to think about right now, but right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. When you give to the V Foundation, 100% of your donation goes directly to game-changing cancer research. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you. Donate at V.org, because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
You're invited to a contractors only event at River Bottom Nursery October 8th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. with free lunch. Come to River Bottom's new location at 7600 Southwest 119th Street in Oklahoma City for the contractors only event with free lunch October 8th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
I would say this is your nonsense of the day. Grayson Singleton. I saw this just moments ago as I was scrolling through Twitter.
Oh, so it doesn't have anything to do with what we talked about yesterday?
No, it has nothing to do with what we talked about yesterday. None whatsoever. This is your nonsense of the day. This takes the cake. This is per Calvin Watkins, who covers the Dallas Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News. He tweeted this earlier this morning. Brian Schottenheimer, who, of course, in case you've forgotten or overlooked this reality, is somehow the Dallas Cowboys head coach. Brian Schottenheimer said rookie running back Jaden Blue developed blisters on his feet at practice yesterday wearing blue Louis Vuitton cleats.
You know, man, when some people get an exorbitant amount of money, there are some very questionable things that can occur. And why you would be wearing Louis Vuitton cleats to practice is one of them.
The first reply to this tweet from a Cowboys fan is, "We drafted a high-speed idiot."
There were reports of Jaden Blue's attitude during training camp, too, and that he wasn't working very hard, or there were other things like kind of reporting adjacent to what was coming out about Jaden Knox, but like those sorts of rumors.
Oh my gosh, how good would Jaden Blue be? Y'all gotta keep in mind this is former Texas Longhorn Jaden Blue,
who was a stud.
Yeah, he skipped his senior year of high school. Do you recall this?
Yes, I do.
He did not play his senior year of high school football. Opted out. Went 3 and done, 3 and out at Texas. He was there for 3 years, off to the NFL. Good for that dude, man. I mean, that's indicative of a special kind of talent. But it makes me question your longevity at the professional level if, for one thing, you're a healthy scratch through the first 4 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're developing blisters on your feet because you're wearing Louis Vuitton cleats to practice. You got to take stuff seriously in the National Football League. Otherwise, you don't last.
And here's the thing, too. Here's how you know why that Jaden Blue has kind of rubbed people the wrong way. Because of how much detail Brian Schottenheimer went into that.
I know he didn't have to say they were Louis Vuitton cleats, did he?
Exactly. There was no need to say that other than this dude just drives me up a wall, so I'm going to go make him look like an idiot.
This is the exact quote. He went out there with some cool new cleats, Louis Vuitton Nikes. You should go get you a pair, but they give you blisters. And so about halfway through practice, I saw him laying there. I was like, what the hell happened to Blue? Oh, Coach, I'm fine. I have blisters. I was like, oh, shocker. Look at the cool shoes you got. That's part of what you deal with in young players. And quickly he changed his cleats, and it's amazing the blisters weren't as bad.
There was no need for him to go into that much detail. There was no need for him to say, especially the part where he said he had some cool new cleats. Like, isn't that just old man passive aggressive type stuff right there?
Oh man,
that's exactly what that is.
That's Shoddy's underhanded way of saying I'm about done with this kid's crap.
Yes,
get it together.
100%.
Back to the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line as we recalibrate here. A 405 listener says, how's the status of the lineman from Norman North? That would be 3-star offensive tackle Daniel McMorris, who last week picked up his long-awaited offer from the University of Oklahoma. And look, I should confirm, I should verify. I'll do this right now, as a matter of fact. I, in real time, am going to verify whether Daniel McMorris has set up his official visit with the University of Oklahoma, but it is something that is in the works, has been in the works. In the meantime, I believe it's this weekend that he is taking an official visit to Cal, and it is next weekend that he is taking an official visit to Texas Tech. And his perspective on this has long been, you got to keep in mind, Daniel Morris committed to Minnesota. I almost said Wisconsin, but it was Minnesota that he committed to back in June. And Minnesota, to their credit, I don't know how many realize this or not, they do have a pretty solid reputation for putting offensive linemen in the NFL. And so Minnesota was the fit that he felt like made sense for him at the time. Oklahoma had not offered. They'd recruited him, but they had not offered. OU has kind of always been the dream. But if it wasn't going to be Oklahoma, he felt like Minnesota was the place he needed to be. So he committed early to Minnesota before finishing out his OV slate. And so after he decommitted from Minnesota last month, what he maintained was that, or I'm sorry, not last month, but it was August. What he maintained was that I'm not going to make another quick decision. I'm not going to make another spur-of-the-moment decision without collecting all of the data beforehand. And look, I have every reason to believe, no reason whatsoever to doubt that Daniel McMorris is going to wind up in Oklahoma's class. But he's going to visit Cal, and he's going to visit Tech. Those are two other schools that have been pushing, and he's at the very least going to give them the time of day and make sure he's not missing anything. But this is a kid that grew up in the shadow of Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, grew up going to games, has visited the program on game days and otherwise umpteen times throughout his recruiting process. I would be stunned if he is not a Sooner, but he's probably not going to be a Sooner until mid to late October. That's probably what it's going to be. He'll do the Cal visit. He'll do the Texas Tech visit. Whenever the Oklahoma OV materializes, which if you're looking at the schedule, you'd think probably the weekend of the 25th when OU hosts Ole Miss. So it would make all the sense in the world if McMorris just took the OV the weekend of the Ole Miss game. Again, that's me assuming. That's not me knowing. But I would assume he gets that OV set up for the Ole Miss game and locks it down shortly thereafter. So I expect him in OU's class, just not right this second or tomorrow.
Blue Sooner says, like Dave Chappelle's Rick James character said, they should have never gave y'all money.
Speaking of Jaden Blue, I imagine.
Yes. There's an Ari Spears quote that I'm not going to repeat on this. Those of you who know which one I'm referring to know which one I'm referring to. But there is one that is very appropriate for this situation. I might send it to you in the break, Parker, if I can find it.
A 405 listener on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line says, not a recruiting question. That's okay. But would this year's defense be the best of all time if it had Danny Stutzman? Shoot, man. That would be easily the best OU defense of the last 2 decades. I mean, you're going back to the early mid-2000s to find another unit that is as talented as that one if you stick Danny Stutzman on this unit here in 2025. Now, it doesn't and it's kind of crazy that you're here with this defense. Like, this is the place that we're at, Grayson. They lost Ethan Downs, Billy Bowman, and Danny Stutzman from a season ago. And I know it's only been a month, but nobody's sitting here saying, man, what if this Oklahoma defense had Billy Bowman, Ethan Downs, and or Danny Stutzman? This it has become a common theme over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You sit there and wonder, man, if so-and-so hadn't graduated last year, how much better would this unit be?
Mm-hmm.
A great example, maybe not one that comes readily to mind. But Oklahoma had several guys from their 2021 defense that jumped to the NFL a year early and decided to forego their remaining eligibility. Brian Asamoah was one. Isaiah Thomas was one. Perion Winfrey was one. Nick Benito was one. But the one that not a lot of folks will remember offhand that also decided to forego his remaining eligibility to enter the draft prior to the 2022 season, Brent Venables' first year, and a guy that would have been so nice to have in 2022, Delarian Turner-Yell.
Yep.
And, we're sitting there in 2022 obviously fantasizing about how much better that defense would be if you had Nick Benito or you had Perion Winfrey at defensive tackle. But, man, it was also a major talking point throughout that season. What if you had somebody in the back end like Delarian Turner-Yell? Because the guys Oklahoma was rolling out at safety at the time, it was like, well, Woody Washington shifted back to safety for a minute there because there were just no viable alternatives. It was Trey Morrison. It was Damon Harmon. It was Jordan Mukes. The choices were not stellar in the back end. And so for Oklahoma's defense to be where they're at in 2025 is impressive enough in its own right, and props are due to Brent Venables and every single member of that defensive staff for the work that they've done building this roster and developing the talent with which they've been entrusted and the performance that they've put on the field thus far in 2025. But I think it says the most about this defense that nobody's sitting here in early October asking the question, what if you had Billy Bowman? Or what if you had Danny Stutzman? Or what if you had Ethan Downs?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the way I look at it, too, given the fact that Oklahoma hasn't generated any turnovers yet, what if you had Billy Bowman on the back end of this defense? Because that was a dude who had a knack for taking the ball away. And he's already done so in the NFL a couple of times, too.
Yeah, Billy Bowman was a takeaway machine, man.
Yeah. And look, that's no slight to Danny Stutzman, but the inside linebacker play has been more than excellent this year. I look at this from the framework of which one would benefit where Oklahoma's defense has come up even just slightly short. And obviously that's the part of playing defense that they haven't done quite yet. So I look at Billy Bowman and say, boy, if he was on this defense, I don't even know if there would be one thing to even critique about this unit.
A listener from the 580 says, please know this isn't a flame of any sort to anyone, but I haven't heard Danny Stutzman's name at all this year. To me, that speaks volumes of this year's backers. Danny's doing all right for himself down in New Orleans. He's got 4 tackles on the young season. New Orleans also sucks, though.
They're terrible.
That's probably the reason why you haven't heard Danny Stutzman's name much, is because New Orleans is 0-4 and not getting in the win column anytime soon. Another 580 listener says, having an experienced linebacker on this defense when that's one of your deepest position groups doesn't really move the needle. Having an elite cornerback or an edge the opposite side of RMT would make it much better. I tell you, man, and I don't know, maybe this is a hot take. I've been really impressed with Marvin Jones Jr. so far.
I think he's played well.
I've had no qualms with his performance.
Him or Taylor Wine.
Both those guys, Wine and Jones, have been quite solid opposite our Mason Thomas. I mean, have they been elite? Okay, maybe not. But, shoot, man, they're certainly not a weakness of any sort.
Oh, no.
On Oklahoma's defense. Both those guys have played really, really good ball. And it's been nice to see Taylor Wine validate all the offseason hype, because that is one thing that, again, stuff such as that circulates every single year. Oh, so-and-so looks really, really good on the practice field. Coaching staff is talking up so-and-so as the next big thing in his position group. And, man, Taylor Wine was one of those guys that offseason, and so many folks were audibly wondering on the text line, on social media, on the message boards, well, is this just kind of another Gavin Freeman type of deal where the coaching staff talks him up and then the actual games get played and he's not doing much of anything? But Taylor Wines looked like a dog so far. Got his first career sack on Jackson Arnold as well. Postal Sooner says if Stutzman and Bowman play against Navy, we whip their butt too. Well, yeah, but it's honestly, who thinks about that Navy game? That feels like a fever dream, doesn't it?
Doesn't last season kind of feel like a fever dream?
Well, yes and no. That game specifically feels more like a fever dream than pretty much anything else that happened last seaten.
Well, it depends on what spectrum of a fever dream you're talking about, because you did have a field storming against Alabama.
310 listener. I believe that's the state of California. Yes. One of my friends is the guy who sued the NFL for not taking underclassmen players in the draft. He's the reason players can be drafted after their junior year. Well, dang it. Oklahoma might have won a national championship in 2022 if not for that freaking lawsuit. Brutality. If you go back, and 2022 is such a forgotten season and will be such a forgotten season in OU lore because it was year one of the Venables era and there was so much roster turnover and they went 6-7. If you look at the offensive numbers and statistics and metrics from 2022, Oklahoma had an unbelievable offense that year. But the defense sucked. If you take all the guys that decided to cash in their chips early and enter the NFL draft after 2021, and you stick them on that 2022 defense, there is not a doubt in my mind Oklahoma's competing for a national championship. But if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, you know the rest. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. One final segment ahead. We'll hit more of your questions. We will discuss the upcoming matchup tomorrow between Oklahoma and Kent State. Keep it right here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
This is the Ref Sports Radio Network.
Insurance companies aren't in the business of saving you money. They're in the business of taking your money. Hi, this is Will Gosney with Yala Gosney Attorneys at Law. Have you ever had an insurance claim and thought, wow, I really am in good hands, or these folks truly are treating me like a neighbor? Well, that's where we can help. We'll deal with the stress. We'll get you back to your normal life. So save our number in your phone, and if you're ever hurt in a wreck, call or text us at 405-800-8080. It's 405-800-8080.
This winter, hit the court and join the action. The Youth Winter Basketball League is here, open to athletes of all skill levels. Build your game, make new friends, and compete in a fun, supportive environment. With flexible registration options and volunteer coaches focused on teamwork, there's a spot for everyone, whether you're playing for fun or aiming to compete. Don't miss out on early bird pricing. Scholarships are available for Norman residents based on need. Sign up today and make this season unforgettable. Visit yfacsport.com. Hey Norman, at Sooner Kia of Norman, you can save up to $6,000 or get 0% financing on a brand new Kia. Need service? We've got you. Get a full synthetic oil change or alignment for just $69. And don't miss the action. Sooner Kia proudly sponsors Kick for Cash at all Norman High and Norman North home football games. Swing by to meet our GM. He may be from California, but he's all Okie. Deals, events, and community, it's all happening at Sooner Kia in Norman. Better deals, better service, better get here now.
Being a family member's caregiver can be rewarding and challenging. Besides taking an emotional and physical toll, it can also take a real financial toll. Find out if you're eligible to get paid for the care you provide at the AARP Foundation Paid for Care Hub. Developed with support from United Healthcare, this free online tool can help you search compensation programs and explore your options. Go to paidforcare.aarpfoundation.org to learn more.
Hey Sooners, I'm OU alum and Boyd Street Ventures founder James Spann. Some players are just built different, and so are some companies. At Boyd Street Ventures, we find under-the-radar Oklahoma companies with the drive, grit, and talent to win big. Our portfolio is growing fast, and so is our investor interest. Fund 1 closes December 31st, so don't wait. To learn more, visit BoydStreetVentures.com. That's BoydStreetVentures.com. Under the radar, above the crowd.
Meet Janiking, the unrivaled team of cleaning champions. We're here to elevate your business to sparkling perfection. From Oklahoma Memorial Stadium to businesses nationwide, Janiking delivers spotless environments. Proud partner of OU football and OU athletics. As we cheer on the Sooners, Janiking brings the same dedication to every cleaning task. For commercial cleaning services beyond compare, visit Janiking.com today. That's JANIKING.com. Janiking, the king of clean. And go Sooners!
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It is the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. You're listening to Locked In. Final segment of the show on this Friday. Parker Thune, Grayson, Singleton getting ready to turn things over to Tyler and Ted at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. Let's talk about this game tomorrow, Grayson, in as much as we can. Kent State is not a good football team. This is widely understood. The outcome of the game tomorrow is by no means in question. I don't think even Kirk Herbstreit could sell folks on this being a quote-unquote trap game for Oklahoma. This is a walk in the park. This is probably the worst football team on their 2025 schedule in the Kent State Golden Flashes. And so it's not about whether you win the game or really about how much you win the game by tomorrow, Grayson. It's really about things that are a lot more subjective. Giovanni Gibson returns. Eli Bowen returns. This is great news for Oklahoma. No question about it. Michael Hawkins gets to make his first start of the 2025 season in relief of John Mateer. As you look at this game tomorrow, and you look at what Oklahoma could realistically accomplish to make you feel better or worse about their outlook going into the Texas game, break that down for me a little bit.
To me, it's Michael Hawkins. If the event comes that Michael Hawkins has to play against Texas, I want to see how he looks operating the offense. And he hasn't done it in live action yet. So we can speculate about all the development. We can listen to the people that are in the room talk about all the development. But until we see it with live bullets, it would make me uneasy as a fan if his first action running a brand new offensive scheme with all new receivers from as compared to last year, pretty much with a new offensive line as well, if that first time was against Texas. And that's why I think there is value for him and for a lot of this offense in this game against Kent State, even though I'm not too excited about it because it's not going to be competitive. But there is value to it, though. A lot of people will say get the running game going. To me, if you get the run game going, well, that's great. That's one of those basic check marks just because of how physically superior you are to Kent State. But where the translative value can really come from this game is if Michael Hawkins looks effective and efficient operating the offense, moving the ball down the field, staying on schedule. And that doesn't mean he's got to be perfect. It doesn't mean that he can't have his misfires because it's the first time he's starting a game this year. But you need to be able to see that he's capable of doing it and doing it to a point where you're comfortable if he's got to play a week from Saturday.
I hear you on that. I think there's a lot of truth to that. If indeed John Mateer can't go, and look, we know John Mateer is going to make every effort to go. We know what John Mateer told his tortilla presser at Chipotle earlier in the week. But ultimately, John Mateer isn't going to be the one that's making the decision, at least not completely on his own, about his availability and his status for next Saturday's game in the Cotton Bowl. And so you have to have Michael Hawkins equipped and confident and ready to step into that role for a second straight year in that environment if need be. You hope John Mateer can go, but you can't count on it by any means. Now, to me, and I mentioned this at the end of the 1 o'clock hour, so much of tomorrow, because, again, it's a game where you don't question much of what's going to occur in the big picture as far as who wins and the overall flow of the game. But so much of tomorrow for me is about Jaden Knox. Can Oklahoma get Jaden Knox in a rhythm? Is Jaden Knox even good? Like, that's a legitimate question at this point. Is Jaden Knox even good? Or is the 2025 iteration of the SEC just that much better than the 2023 iteration of the Pac-12, that a guy who was first-team All-Pac-12 in 2023 is just a third, fourth-string type dude for Oklahoma in 2025? I mean, at this point, you have to consider any and all options that are on the table as far as explaining why Jaden Knox has been invisible thus far this season for Oklahoma. Tomorrow is the final litmus test on the Jaden Knox experience in my mind. If Jaden Knox produces tomorrow, then okay. Maybe we can all move past those early season doldrums, chalk them up as, I don't know, a tune-up, I guess. Let's say, he got to campus in June and it just took him a little while to get comfortable. You can put that in the spin zone at that point. But if Jaden Knox doesn't contribute meaningfully to an Oklahoma victory tomorrow, if he does not produce, if he does not see a much more substantial snap count than he has seen to any point in the season thus far, then you really have no choice, Grayson, but to just wave the white flag on the whole deal and concede that Jaden Knox was the first bad investment of the Jim Nagy era at Oklahoma.
And you're not going to bat 1,000. You know, if it doesn't work out, then it just didn't work out. No big deal. This happens to people at the professional level. It happens to people at the collegiate level. Like, it's okay. It's not a catastrophe if that is the case. But here, more so than Jaden Knox, though, what does the run game look like? And can you make it look easy? Because I think that's going to be the common denominator, not just with Jaden Knox, but the entire running operation, be it DeMarco Murray, be it Bill Bedenbaugh, the offensive line, Torrey Blaylock, Javonte Barnes, everybody involved. Does this look easy? And look, the way I look at games like this is if they're moving the line of scrimmage 2-3 yards down the field, great. I feel confident that you can do offensive line stuff because, again, they're going up against a far physically inferior team. But if it looks bad, if it does not look easy, if it looks like a struggle, I think we have more points of concern. Basically what I'm saying is that if the Sooners go out and handle their business, we should all walk out of the stadium very happy. But if there's something that we learn about this team, outside of Michael Hawkins because we haven't seen him yet, if there's something that stands out, outside of the people who have not appeared this season, generally that's not good against a team that is this far inferior. So, to me, it's does everybody involved, and that includes Jaden Knox with the run game, make it look easy? That's when I take away, okay, this is going somewhere positive.
On the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. Chris from Knoxville says, look at Mekhi Hughes at Oregon. It's going to happen to every program. And that's a great example right there of a guy that chose to make the jump. Well, and, Jaden Knox was technically playing what at the time was P5 ball at Cal. Mekhi Hughes jumped from the G5, albeit a high-level G5 program at Tulane, and he made so little of a dent at Oregon that he's just shutting it down and taking a redshirt for the remainder of the season. And again, we've talked about like that. That may be what has to happen for Jaden Knox if he can't get rolling tomorrow. Because if he wants to give himself a shot at the league, if he wants to play NFL football, it's not happening if you're just sitting the bench the rest of the year at Oklahoma. And these are the considerations that you have to have in today's day and age as a fan because of the current environment and climate of college football in which we live. There are guys that can take measures such as that to preserve their eligibility, even if at the expense of the team's viability and overall success, in order to ensure that they can maintain a shot at playing football at the next level. So I don't know what Jaden Knox's season and his tenure at Oklahoma looks like beyond tomorrow. Tomorrow will tell us so much. A 405 listener asks, how long do you think it's going to be until we can trade players midseason? Oh, gosh.
Oh, man.
I mean, shoot, as far as we've swung away from the entire concept of amateurism in college sports, it might not be that long. Who would you want to trade for right now if you were a Sooners fan?
Well,
That's an interesting question.
Well, okay, let's think about this. What are places that you usually trade in terms of positions in the middle of the season? And you're usually looking at guys who can finish the picture and get you over the top. So maybe if there's they want to add safety or corner depth, maybe is what I'm looking at. Is what I would kind of be looking at. Maybe another edge rusher. That's generally where you see that.
That's one of those conversations you love to be having.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, you're sitting here trying to come up with an answer, and there isn't a clear one as to where this team could upgrade from where they're at right now. I mean, honestly, is running back the answer?
That was the next place I was going.
Like, is it just running back?
Yeah.
And that's that?
But then also, here's what comes with that conversation too, Parker. The teams that know they're out of it, then they kind of start dumping the roster. And then also, what kind of compensation do you get? Do you get NIL compensation, so you're trading for, like, what the MLB would call cash considerations? Or something like that? Like how does that work too?
I tell you, Puerto Rican Sooner brought up Ahmad Hardy at Mizzou. Do you remember the Ahmad Hardy recruitment?
No, I don't.
Oh, my goodness. So the kid, I'd never seen anything like it. But the kid called his shot, man. He committed to Louisiana Monroe, and when he did the commitment interview, he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he made it very clear, yeah, I'm going to be here for a year and then transfer up to the P4. It's the first time I'd ever heard a player articulate that plan is, yeah, I'm committing somewhere for a year. I'm going to go play somewhere for a year. And then I'm going to jump in the portal and upgrade. And that's exactly what Ahmad Hardy did. He's one of the best running backs in college football right now at the P4 level from Mizzou.
Is this the year of backing up talk? I mean, between him and Thomas Castellanos.
Oh, man.
I mean, is this the year for walking the walk and talking the talk?
As far as those two are concerned, absolutely. We'll see if Florida can get it done on their home field tomorrow against Miami, who looks really, really really good. Okay, Grayson, score prediction for tomorrow's football game.
Dog, I don't know. 52-3, 52-6, something in that range. That's probably where I'm going to go. I mean, it's going to come down to how much do you want the score to look like.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be. I don't got a clue.
I'll tell you, my prediction. I think Oklahoma finally gets their shutout tomorrow because when you look at the Illinois State game and you look at the Temple game, they allowed 3 points in each of those games. The only reason they allowed 3 points was because in both cases they committed a turnover deep in their own territory. And so they've been close. They've been right there. They've been on the verge of the shutout in their first two cupcake matchups, as it were. I think they finally turn the trick tomorrow against Kent State, get it done, get the shutout, I think this is a 56-0 football game in favor of the Sooners. Weston Sooner says we got to score 60-plus or we will never hear the end of it from the Sand Aggies. What did Texas Tech score on Kent State?
I was about to say, did Texas Tech get 60 or something like that?
I know Florida State scored 66 on them. So I can't recall what Texas Tech put up on them, though. Regardless, folks, it's another weekend to watch Sooner football. And it's another weekend to count down to the greatest day of the year. Next weekend in the Cotton Bowl, the Red River Shootout. OU Texas, potentially with a lot on the line if the Longhorns can take care of business tomorrow against Florida. For Grayson Singleton, I'm Parker Thune. Thanks for riding along with us today. Teddy and Tyler are coming up next here on The Rush. The home of Sooner fans is The Ref. Stay here.